It is always great catching up with Jack Hermansson, who's actually going to be fighting Khamzat Chimaev in a freestyle wrestling match, 187 pounds. I think I got that right. November 19th in Sweden. Jack, how's it going, man?
It's going well. It's going well. Good to be back on your show again. So,
Well, I appreciate that.
It's nice that something is happening. It's nice to have a bout scheduled, even if it's not an MMA bout. But it's good to have something to set your on in between fights.
Yes, and there's a lot to get into. Let's first start with how this all came together. Was this an opportunity that was presented to you? Was it something you were pursuing?
Well, it started with, I think, Khamzat's manager contacted my manager and asking if I was interested to do a freestyle bout. And first, it was actually meant to be just a show bout, and then I said, yeah, let's do it, but let's make it a real fight instead, like with a winner and everything. I think that's a little bit more exciting for the fans. I certainly wouldn't tune in to a show bout. It's much more interesting if the guys really are battling for something. So I wanted it to be a real wrestling match, and they agreed, and we worked it out. So.
Why did they choose you specifically? Is there a past relationship there as far as his manager and your manager, or how did this all come together from that perspective?
No, I think they wanted to make something that would hype the fans in the Nordic countries, since we are maybe the biggest names in the UFC in Scandinavian countries right now. I think they were thinking that was going to excite the fans.
What was the UFC's reaction to this? I know they let fighters, take grappling matches, for example. Were they cool with it? Was there some pushback? What was sort of their reaction I'm sure, because you had to let them know, obviously you're under contract with them.
Yeah, no problem as I understood. So everything went smooth there, and they said that it was going to be all right. So yeah, no problems there.
Have you done a freestyle wrestling match like this, like recently? I was just trying to remember. I don't think you have, if I'm not mistaken.
I've never done a freestyle match at all, ever. So this is going to be my first one. So that's interesting. So
how do you look at this? How do you look at this from a style perspective? We know we saw on the weekend with what Khamzat did to Li Jingliang, getting him to the mat. But how do you look at this from a style perspective? Because it's not an MMA fight, right?
Yeah, right. I have a Greco-Roman background. Khamzat has a freestyle background, so obviously he's more used to fighting under these kinds of rules. My freestyle wrestling comes from my MMA training, so that's where I have it there from. But I should match up pretty well with him. At least I believe so. We'll see when we fight, but I think I would match up well with him.
Yeah, are people allowed to bet on this fight, or do you know if that's a thing at all, or is it just like considered an exhibition?
Yeah, I think so. I think you should be able to bet, because we will have a winner in the fight. So, but I haven't checked it out, so that would be interesting to see how the odds are.
Were you worried about Chimaev at all, just because he had fought this weekend, that it might jeopardize the fight at all, or were you pretty confident he was going to go there and win?
No, yeah, a little bit worried. He could injure himself, and you never know what's going to happen in MMA bout. So, but I didn't think too much of it. But obviously, he was very dominant and should be pretty fine in his body.
Yeah, for sure. What did you think of that performance? There was a lot of pressure going in. He had the layoff and COVID and everything else, and he went out there and submitted his opponent very quickly. Just your thoughts on his win at UFC 267.
I think it's really, really cool that he managed to keep the hype going, and another extremely dominant performance like this. It's only gonna make him grow as a star, and it's really, really cool to see where he's going at the moment. So very impressive.
Does it warrant a title shot? Some people are making that comparison just because of how quickly he won the fight. It was a ranked opponent, or do you think he needs a few more to get a title shot in the welterweight division?
I wouldn't rush with the title. I would love to see some matchups that I think will be a little bit trickier. That yeah, you have guys like, yeah, people have been talking about Neil Magny and Chiesa and Gilbert Burns. I think all of those guys are great names. Colvington, of course. I think there's a lot of great matchups too that I would love to see before. But of course, if you know, yeah, I think that would be the best way to do it. They're talking about Nate Diaz now
Yeah.
also, but
Do you like
I
that
don't
though? I mean,
see.
I don't know many people
No,
who would pick Nate in that fight. To be honest, he's struggled against wrestlers in the past.
it's crazy. I think it's a way too easy matchup for Khamzat. I think it fits him perfectly, of course. And I don't want to see Nate go out with a fight like that either. I would rather see him matched up against somebody else that makes a great fight, and see Khamzat against another one for sure.
And just last thing on Chimaev, there was that, sort of issue he had with the weigh-in and him, holding the towel or whatever. What did you make of that? Because, remember he weighed in at 166 and then they weighed him again and he was 171. A little bit of weird stuff going on there with the weigh-in.
Yeah, it's up to everybody how they want to do
Yeah.
it, but obviously you have to make.
I guess you don't have to worry about it because of the fact there's a 187. It's not like he's having to cut a bunch of weight. So
I think we should be fine. It's probably me that's gonna struggle a little bit with the weight in that case.
yeah, for sure. We have UFC 268 this Saturday. Was there ever any talk of you replacing Luke Rockhold against Sean Strickland at all? Because I know you were a name that came up just because you were available and you were a ranked opponent.
Yeah, there was some talk about it. But yeah, at the moment, I have been having some issues this fall. So I haven't been in shape, I haven't been ready. So I wasn't, I wasn't fit enough to jump in on that fight.
Okay, I'm not prying too much, but was it sort of like an injury thing, or is it trying to keep this general, but was it an injury thing or health thing? What was sort of keeping you out?
No, it's been a health thing. I've been struggling with ever since everything opened up here after COVID. I've been getting this, loads of small infections like colds all the time, and I haven't been able to keep my training going. I've been training for a week and then getting a cold, training for a week and then getting a cold. So it's like my immune system has been switched off for a whole year with everything being so clean, and so my body has been having some trouble to adapt to everything again. So yeah, training hasn't been going perfectly. Ever since my last fight, basically. So,
Yeah,
so I felt
and
like I wasn't in any kind of shape to get a short notice fight right now.
that makes sense. Do they think this is related to you getting COVID? Is that what you think it is?
No, I don't think so. Actually, I don't think so. I think it's more like since everything opened up, because for a whole year, we our training everything was locked down, and now suddenly everything has been opening with loads of new people on the mats, and so I think it's just that sort of thing, and it's not that everybody's struggling, but I think everybody is different, and I definitely have been struggling a little bit since everything opened up.
Just how things are now, I know it's tough to sort of gauge things. We're in November here, but I know Strickland wanted to fight in January. It seems he's, they're having a card in California. Is that too soon? Do you think you'd need a bit more time to sort of take your next fight with everything that's going on health wise?
Yeah, that sounds like a possible timeline. Depending on also, matchups. You mentioned Sean Strickland, and obviously I'm interested in what are they going to do after the Cannonier and Brunson fight, and so on. So yeah, we'll see how it what is gonna happen and what the UFC thinks. But I definitely feel like I should be ready in January.
Okay, and Strickland seems like an opponent that would make sense just because he needs someone. He's ranked. If that fight was to happen, how do you look at that fight from a style perspective? You and Sean Strickland.
Well, I think I match up well against him. He's a pressure fighter. He's well conditioned, and I feel like a lot of his wins is because he breaks his opponent's will and conditioning. He has a high pace. I don't get tired, and I'm able to push the pace. So yeah, I think that should fit me very well, actually. So yeah, that should be a good stylistically matchup for me.
And just sort of last thing on Strickland, what do you think of his personality? He's a little bit out there. You know, I don't know if you've seen some of the Instagram stories and some of the stuff he's saying about, you know, just like, you know, he doesn't want to kill his opponent and things like that. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of guys out there that has weird personalities because they want to create some hype and you know, but I don't think Strickland is that guy. I think he's crazy for real. So I don't think that's something he makes up. It's just who he is. So yeah, that's fine.
Okay. If all goes well in this freestyle wrestling match, do you see yourself doing this more, you know, just to keep active, maybe if you're not having to wait for fights, or is that something you've thought of after this matchup?
It's a fun thing to do, you know, but I'm not having any more plans of it. But Khamzat is a big fight, you know. It's a big name and a fun fight to do. So if there would be anybody in his caliber, you know, it would be fun. But yeah, it's a little bit extra fun because it's him, you know, and he's so hyped right now, and everybody's talking about him. So that makes for a fun fight.
How many more fights do you have left on your UFC contract? Do you know?
I'm a little bit unsure. I think it's 2.
2? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so next fight pretty important, obviously, because you always renegotiate on the last one, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, which makes sense. Don't want to rush back in there, right? Like you were mentioning with some of the health stuff as well. And then just before we get out of here, we had that Marvin Vettori and Paulo Costa fight. What was your reaction to Paulo Costa midweek saying, "I thought we're fighting at 205"? What did you think of all that? And how did you think Marvin handled it? Because I thought he kept his composure pretty well considering everything that happened.
Yeah, that was insane. I knew that Marvin wasn't gonna pull out or anything because, you know, people want to get paid. People want to fight. They want to continue with their career. But yeah, bad manners, bad style. You know, you can't do that. And it seems like Costa is just blaming something else or somebody else, and it's never his problem or his fault. So not a big fan of that. He's probably way too big for the weight class, and he might never ever get down and make the weight again. But if he would like to try, I can be there and do the fight if he wants to.
There we go. Nice challenge there. Jack, thanks so much for doing this. And we had some connection issues, but you're always slugging through it. I really appreciate that. If there's anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media, I'll give you the last word.